Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blog Run Everything, and welcome back to the channel. And unfortunately, FC Barcelona just could not get the job done. They weren't enough on the night, and I mean, so many questions that we could have. So many questionable, I felt, decisions that were made, and maybe a bit of some, I'd say, disappointing performances on the night from certain players, because for sure this is one match that should have ended in 90 minutes. Shouldn't have gone as far as it did. And well, despite all of that, despite going all that far, Barca just didn't have enough. And of course, they didn't have enough. They've had a crazy schedule recently, which did include 120 minutes just, a couple of weeks ago. And you just knew that going into extra time, especially with Inter having that home crowd on their backs, just wasn't going to be there for Barca. And unfortunately, they come up short. So, look, like I was saying, there's a lot of questions that you could ask, point a lot of fingers. Probably one of the most obvious things you could say here is that Inigo Martinez substitution turned out to be what flipped the game, especially for Inter, because I felt that the errors that Araujo made for the two late goals that Inter scored, Acerbi and the one by Frattesi, the mistakes Araujo makes there, first when marking Acerbi, and then secondly when, he just absolutely lets Marcus Thuram have his way with him. Those are both instances where I feel that Inigo Martinez would at least have put in a tackle or a block, and not having him on the pitch with all of his experience, ultimately I think that's what cost Barcelona in this match. So, Barca do have to pick themselves up, though. There's an El Clasico coming around the corner. Not really going to dwell too much on this one because the match ended pretty late, and man's gotta sleep. Man needs his rest. And so, that's probably maybe as much as we're going to be saying here. But, shout out though here to Gerard Martin and Eric Garcia. I think two players who, for me, I felt, especially after that first half, shouldn't have been anywhere near that team. But, they more than, did their parts in the second half. Though you could argue that, Gerard Martin ultimately made the error that led to the Acerbi equalizer. But, that goal, in my opinion, just generally knocked the stuffings out of Barca in a way that you feel is uncharacteristic for this team. And, Inter just went on top and started dominating. And eventually they did score that goal through Frattesi. And it was deserved. They did start to pick up steam and to dominate the game. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's just certain things from this Barca team that, when your goalkeeper doesn't turn up in a semi-final, just look at all the saves that we saw from Sommer, right? So many saves, so many big saves. On Eric Garcia, on Yamal, in this game alone. The previous game as well, we saw him make big saves on Yamal, on, so many attacks Barcelona had. And I felt that over the two legs, Szczesny just didn't turn up for Barca, which I know it's going to sound a bit hypocritical maybe, because a lot of Barca fans do attack Marc-Andre Ter Stegen. But hey, I'll tell you this though, I have defended Ter Stegen in the past, but this is one where I felt like, if Szczesny gets even just a bit of something on, any of those shots, bar the Lautaro Martinez goal, right? That penalty from Çalhanoğlu, like if he just guesses the right direction. But it's unfair anyway to pick up on a penalty and something like that. But those two Dumfries goals in the first leg, and this one here as well from Acerbi, and also the one from Frattesi, I think your goalkeeper should be doing better there, should at least be diving, not just rooted to the spot. Anyway, what's done is done. Congratulations to Inter. We'll wait to see what's going to happen in Munich. I don't even think I'll watch that match, to be honest. I'm that type of a fan. But for Barcelona, they just have picked themselves up now because there's no time for sulking. They have an El Clasico to deal with. So we look forward to that game. And just to say that, I'm not ashamed at all about this loss. It's not like we're living this game with our heads, hanging. Like, this team should be proud of what they did. Just like we as the fans should be proud of what we saw. Who would have thought Barca would even be 3 minutes away from a Champions League final at the start of this season? Nobody thought that. But that's where they were. Obviously, certain things happened that shouldn't have, which we should have done better with. And this being a young team, you do hope that they've learned from this. And they've learned from this experience. Because ultimately, it was experience that, put Inter through. That together with Sommer. Because, dude made 7 saves. Prevented 0.93 XG. I've never seen a goalkeeper have a man of the match performance after conceding 3 goals before today. So, have to give the guy credit for that. So, just wanted to put that in. Not ashamed of this team performance. Very proud of the team. And hopefully they can pick themselves up and give that second half that level of performance against Real Madrid. And we could wrap up La Liga. But aside from that, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you all for tuning in. Do have a great day, and Forza Barça.